Hi class, so in this video we're going to talk about our International Financial Management course, Chapter 1, Overview of the Multinational Financial Management. Okay, the objectives of our first chapter is to identify the management goal and organizational structure of the multinational corporation, MNC. Okay, we say that the multinational corporations are MNCs, and we're going to use this notation a lot. We will also discuss the key theories that justify international business, explain the common methods used to conduct international business, and also discuss the uh, valuation model for the MNC firms. Okay, so let's first look at the goals of the MNCs. Okay, if you recall, if you have learned the basic financial management uh, uh, class, or if you remember, the goals for shareholders of a domestic firm is to maximize stock price and minimize WACC, right? Here, we say that the goals of multinational corporations are the same as the domestic firms, okay? For the shareholders, no matter it's for a domestic firm or multinational firm, they want to have the highest stock price possible and lowest WACC, okay? Highest stock price, lowest cost. Okay, so managers are expected to make decisions that will meet the goals of shareholders, that is to maximize stock price and minimize WCC. The focus of this text or for our class is that the multinational corporations whose parents fully own foreign subsidiaries. US parent is sole owner of subsidiary. Okay, so in our class, we're going to mostly focus on corporations that are based in US and have branches around the world. Okay, let's look at practice 1 here. With regard to corporate goals, an MNC is mostly concerned with maximizing, and a purely domestic firm is mostly concerned with maximizing. Okay, so here, which one should we go for? Remember I said for domestic firms and for multinational corporations, they share the same goal, which is maximizing stock price, okay, which is the same as shareholder wealth, and minimize WACC. Okay, so we go with B. Managing the MNC. How business disciplines are used to manage the MNC. Okay, so after discussing about the goals, let's see the decisions or the core task for MNC to when you're managing an MNC. Okay, so you need to make a financial decisions about whether to discontinue operations, whether to pursue new business, whether to expand business, or how to finance expansion in a particular country. Okay, and these financial decisions are also influenced by other business discipline functions such as marketing, management, accounting, and information systems. Okay, so again, financial decisions you need to make for an MNC is very similar to a domestic firm. Okay, you need to think about how to whether you want to discontinue operation or pursue a new business, expand new business, or finance expansion. Okay, on the investment side, on the finance side, you need to make financial decisions for the firm. Also, we need to pay attention that just the same as domestic firms, we also have agency problems for MNCs. Okay, remember we want to make sure that managers are meeting the needs of the shareholders. However, there could be conflicts of goals between managers and shareholders. Okay, that's why we try to design different systems to align managers' interests with shareholders. Okay, to solve the agency problems. All right, and the agency cost is the cost of ensuring that managers maximize shareholders' well. Okay, and the costs are normally higher for MNCs than for purely domestic firms for several reasons. Okay, um, it's more costly for MNC to manage their managers because monitoring managers of distant subsidiaries in foreign countries could be more difficult. Also, because foreign subsidiary managers raised in different cultures may not follow uniform goals. Sheer size of large MNCs can create large agency problems. Some non-US managers tend to downplay the short-term effects of decisions. Okay, so your managers could be from non-US managers, they could be in foreign countries, and the size could be big for the firm, and there's just more challenges there because you're owning a global firm rather than a domestic firm. Okay, we can look at practice 2 here. For an MNC, agency costs are typically, which one should we go for here? Okay, so when we look at a question here, you can always pause the video and think about it. Okay, and our answer will be on our next slide. So if you need more time to read this question or think about it, you can always pause the video. I would always recommend you to think about these questions first before you look at the answers. Okay, so if you're ready, if you have an answer in mind, let's go to the next slide. Okay, you can resume the video once you have an answer in mind. Right, so the right option should be B here. Okay, for an MNC or multinational corporations. Remember, we always use MNC to stand for multinational corporations. Agency costs are typically larger than agency cost of a small, purely domestic firm. Managing the MNC. Okay, so another thing we need to know about agency problems is that the parent firm or the parents should clearly communicate the goals for each subsidiary to ensure managers focus on maximizing the value of the subsidiary. Also, the entire management of the MNC must be focused on maximizing shareholder wealth. Okay, so we need to pay attention to the parent control and corporate control of agency problems. Another thing we need to know about agency problems is a very famous act, SOX, Sarbanes-Oxley Act. Okay, we can also call it SOX. It ensures a more transparent process for managers to report on the productivity and financial condition of the firm. Okay, so this is a very important act. It was passed in 2002. It was a federal law that was established in order to have a better controlling of the public firms. Okay, there were a lot of corporate scandals before the establishment of the act, and that pushed it for the need for the carrying out for the law in order to have better monitoring on the firms. Okay, so if you want to know more about SOX, you could search it online, or you can use the link in our slides here. Question. Okay, practice 3 here. Please read this sentence and let me know whether you think it's true or false. All right, so this is true. Okay, this act is very important, and it gives us more transparencies to monitor the managers. Okay, um, how SOX improved corporate governance of MNCs. So SOX established a centralized database of information, ensured that all data are reported consistently among subsidiaries, implemented a system that automatically checks for unusual discrepancies relative to norms, and speed up the process by which all departments and subsidiaries have access to all the data they need, made executives more accountable for financial statements. Okay, so this is about SOX. There are different types of management structure of MNCs. It could be centralized, it could also be decentralized. Okay, for a centralized system, it allows managers of the parent to control foreign subsidiaries and therefore reduce the power of subsidiary managers. Whereas in a decentralized system, it gives more control to subsidiary managers who are closer to the subsidiary's operation and environment. Also, the internet facilitated management control, made it easier for parents to monitor the actions and performance of the foreign subsidiaries. So this graph shows us the first management style, centralized multinational financial management. Okay, you can see that the financial manager of the parent firm is actually controlling the cash management, inventory and accounts receivable management, financing, capital expenditure at different subsidiaries, including here subsidiary A and subsidiary B. Okay, so this is centralized system. We also have decentralized system where the financial manager of each subsidiary is manager the different divisions. Okay, so that's some basic facts about MNCs. Here we also want to discuss why MNCs want to pursue international business. Okay, there are three theories here. The first theory is competitive advantage. Okay, it's the you can read more in our book. Okay, about this theory, but basically this is telling us that specialization increases production efficiency. Okay, so that's why firms like to expand their business globally so they can make use of the different competitiveness advantage of different areas. Okay, for example, a lot of the U.S. firms like to put their factories, say, in East Asia or Latin America, where there is a lower cost of labor. Okay, so it is making use of the competitive advantage of the local area. Okay, the second theory is imperfect markets theory. Factors of production are somewhat immobile, providing incentive to seek out foreign opportunities. Okay, so for example, Tesla is building its production factories in both Europe, in Asia, in different countries because the cars are kind of immobile, right? The shipping fee could be very large if Tesla just produces its car all in US and then ship it to different areas. So that's going to be very costly for the firm. Okay, so um, here it's the product that is immobile, so that's why the business is expanding globally. There could be other reasons, for example, the raw material, say oil or other raw material that you need for production could be immobile. Okay, that's another reason why the factories could be built in other areas too. The third theory here is product cycle theory. As a firm matures, it recognizes opportunities outside its domestic market. Okay, so this is a natural progress of the firm here. So firms usually start locally, and once you figure out that you could have global market, okay, you have opportunities in foreign market, then of course we have this cycle that you would go international. Okay, for example, Facebook, right? It started in America first, then it expands to all the different countries in the world naturally, okay, due to the product cycle. So here shows us the cycle. Firms create product to accommodate local demand. Firm exports product to accommodate foreign demand. Firm establishes foreign subsidiaries to establish presence in foreign country and possibly to reduce costs. And then firms differentiate product from competitors and or expands product line in foreign country, or firms foreign business declines as its competitive advantages are eliminated. Question: which of the following theories identifies specialization as a reason for international business? Think about it. Which one do you think? Right, it is the first option here, theory of comparative advantage. Another question. Under the imperfect markets theory, it is assumed that factors of production are entirely mobile, so that firms can capitalize on a foreign country's resources. Is it true or false? Right, it is false. Okay. It is assumed that factors of production are actually possibly immobile. Okay, so that's why firms capitalize on the foreign country's resources. Okay, according to the imperfect perfect markets theory. It is not entirely mobile for the most of the time. Okay. Another question. Which excuse me here. Which of the following theories suggests that firms seek to penetrate new markets over time? Right, it's option C, product cycle theory. Question: which of the following is not mentioned in the text as a theory of international business? Okay, please read through the 5 options and let me know which one you would choose. Right, it is option D here. Okay, globalization of business theory. All right, so that's about theories of why we want to have international business. So it's option A, B, C here. All right, now let's look at what are the methods, okay? What are the ways of how firms can engage in international business? Okay, there are 6 different methods here. International trade, licensing, franchising, joint ventures, acquisitions of existing operations, and establishment of new foreign subsidiaries. Let's look into their different characteristics one by one. Okay, the first method is to do it through international trade. This is the simplest one and also easiest one. It is relatively a conservative approach that can be used by firms to penetrate markets by exporting or obtain supplies at a low cost by importing. Okay, so for this method, it also has minimal risk, no capital at risk. Okay, you don't have to put any initial cost to establish something to facilitate the trade. Also, again, for example, Amazon or Alibaba, right? These e-commerce websites, they can use the internet so that the international trade is facilitated, and it's very easy for the different for these companies to advise the products and accept orders on the firm's website. Okay. Question here: international trade is Okay, please read through the question. Let me know which one you think is correct. Okay, I hope you chose D. All of these are correct. Okay, international trade is a relatively conservative approach to foreign market penetration, entails minimal risk, and does not require a large amount of investment. The second method here is licensing. It obligates a firm to provide its technology, including copyrights, patents, trademarks, or trade names, in exchange for fees or some other specified benefits. It allows firms to use their technology in foreign markets without a major investment and without transportation costs that result from exporting. Major disadvantage: difficult to ensure quality control in foreign production process. Okay, so licensing is providing technology to other foreign firms and get fees. Question here. Okay, if you need more time reading the question, think about it. You could always pause. If you're ready, let's go to the next slide. It's true here. Okay, this is the definition of licensing or characteristic of licensing. The third method here, franchising, obligates firm to provide a specialized sales or service strategy, supports assistance, and possibly an initial investment in the franchise in exchange for periodic fees. Okay, so instead of providing technology like licensing, franchising here is providing specialized sales or service strategy. It allows penetration into foreign markets without a major investment in foreign countries. We also have joint ventures that is jointly owned and operated by two or more firms. A firm may enter the foreign market by engaging in a joint venture with firms that reside in those markets. It allows two firms to apply their respective cooperative advantages in a given project. Okay, so joint venture is the fourth method we have here. Okay, you could cooperate with another foreign firm. Question. Licensing obligates a firm to provide, while franchising obligates a firm to provide. Which one should we go for? Right, we should go with B. Okay, licensing provides technology, franchising provides sales or service strategy. The last method we can use, or the last two methods we can use, is acquisitions of existing operation and also establishment of new foreign subsidiaries. Okay, these are the last two. For acquisition, it allows firms to have full control over their foreign businesses and to quickly obtain a large portion of foreign market share. It is subject to the risk of large losses because of larger investments, and liquidation may be difficult if the foreign subsidiary performs poorly. The last method is to establish a new foreign subsidiary. Firms can penetrate markets by establishing new operations in foreign countries, requires a large investment. Acquiring new as opposed to buying existing allows operations to be tailored exactly to the firm's needs. It may require smaller investment than buying existing firms. Okay, so we have 6 methods here. any method of increasing international business that requires a direct investment in foreign operations is referred to as direct foreign investment, DFI. So our first two methods, international trade and licensing, are usually not included in direct foreign investments. Okay, we don't have initial fees or investment. However, the last two methods, foreign acquisition or establishment of new foreign subsidiaries, represent the largest portion of DFI. Okay, they require the largest investments usually. Okay, we can see the cash flow diagrams for these MNCs for different methods on the next slide. And we will see that in the first diagram, it reflects an MNC that engages in international trade. International cash flows result from paying for imports or receiving cash flows from exports. The second diagram reflects an MNC that engages in some international arrangements. Outflows include expenses such as expenses incurred from transferring technology or funding partial investment in a franchise or joint venture. Inflows are receipts from these. The third diagram reflects an MNC that engages in direct foreign investment. Cash flows exist between the parent firm and the foreign subsidiary. Okay, so you can see here in the first diagram for international trade by the MNC, the MNC receives cash inflows from exporting to the foreign importers. Okay, and it also has cash outflows to pay for importing from foreign exporters. And for the second, third, and fourth method, licensing, franchising, and joint venture, the MNC has cash inflows from services provided by foreign firms or government agencies, or cash outflows for services received by foreign firms. And for the last method, investment in foreign subsidiaries, either by acquisition or establishment of the new subsidiary, MNC can receive cash inflows from remitted earnings by foreign subsidiaries or cash outflows to finance the operations in the foreign subsidiaries. Okay, so now let's look at the valuation model for an MNC. And before we expand to MNC, let's recall or review what we've learned before about domestic model. Okay, for a domestic firm, the value of the firm is the sum of the present value of the expected cash flows generated by the firm, right? So here V represents the present value of the expected cash flows of the firm, which is also the value of the domestic firm. The ECF here, the expected cash flow in dollar value at time T, represents expected cash flows to be received at the end of period T. And then we have N that represents the number of periods into the future in which cash flows are received. Okay, N here. And then we have K that represents the required rate of return by investors. Okay, so this is what you should have learned before in your financial management course. We use the cash flow in each time period, discount by using the corresponding discount rate, 1 plus k to the power of t, add them up for n periods. Okay, so we have the total present value of all the future cash flows. Okay, so this dollar cash flows in period T represent funds received by the firm minus funds needed to pay expenses or taxes or to reinvest in the firm. Okay, revenues minus the cost is the cash flow. And then the cost of capital, K here, you could probably see it as R instead in your previous classes. But either R or K is in the denominator of the valuation equation. And for a firm, the rate of return for investing in the firm for the investors is also the weighted average cost of capital based on all the firm's projects for the firm. Okay, it's rate of return for the investor, but it's the cost for the firm. Okay, and we can use K or R to stand for cost of capital here, the discount rate here. So when we are applying this valuation method to multinational scenario, the cash flow, which is the amount of cash flows denominated in dollar sign for the firm, should be the cash flow JT that is denominated in a particular foreign currency J at the end of period T, multiplied by SJT, the exchange rate at which the foreign currency measured in dollar per unit of the foreign currency can be converted to dollars at the end of each period T. Okay, so for multinational firms, you receive cash flows in different currency J. You multiply by the exchange rate between the currency J and dollar value. So you could convert each cash flow into dollar value and do this for different currency J from currency 1 to currency M, add them up so you have the expected cash flow in dollar value in time T. Okay, so for each time period, for each year, you could receive your cash flow from different countries in different currency J. You convert all of them into USD, add them up, so you have the cash flow in USD that year. And for MNCs that uses two currencies or multiple currencies, we can measure its expected dollar cash flow in any period by multiplying the expected cash flow in each currency by the expected exchange rate at which that currency would be converted to dollars, and then summing those two products or multiple products. Okay, again, we can use this equation here, and we can derive an expected dollar cash flow value for each currency and combine cash flows among currencies within a given period. Question. The valuation of the MNC should decline when an event causes the expected cash flow from foreign subsidiaries to increase or decrease, and when the foreign currencies denominating these cash flows are expected to appreciate or depreciate. Think about this question, okay? Think about it, pause the video, think about it. Let me know what you choose. Do you have an answer in mind? If you do, let's resume the video, okay, and go to the next slide. Okay, I hope you got it right. So the value of the firm should decline when cash flows decrease. Okay. But not remembering our equation, we need to use the cash flows divide by the discount rate, so we can have the value of the firm, right? So if the cash flows decrease, the value of the firm should decrease. As for the foreign currency denominating these cash flows, okay, when the foreign currencies depreciate, okay, then the US dollar value we convert the cash flows into will also depreciate. Okay, the cash flows are gonna decrease and also the value of the firm will decrease. Is that clear? If you're a little bit confused, not 100% clear, you could always email me, okay? Another question here. Assume that live company has expected cash flows of 150,000 from domestic operations, 150,000 Swiss francs from Swiss operations, and 100,000 euros from Italian operations at the end of the year. Okay, so it has domestic operation and also 2 other foreign operations. The Swiss francs value and the euros value are expected to be $0.73 and $1.19 respectively at the end of this year. What are the expected dollar cash flow of this company? Okay, so remember we learned the formula. If you have multiple branches, you could convert all the cash flows into dollars first and add them up. Okay, so please pause the video, write the equation down. Okay, try to solve for this question using the formula, and also you can bring out your scientific calculator. Okay, try to calculate the expected cash flow here, please. Okay, you could always pause the video if you need more time calculating and choose an option here. But if you're ready for which, if you finish the calculation using your scientific calculator, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so the right option should be C here. The cash flow in dollar sign should be the expected cash flow in different currency multiplied by the exchange rates and add up the all the cash flows in US dollar. So we have 150,000 in US dollar, so we don't have to convert that. For this 150,000 Swiss francs, we need to multiply by 0.73, okay, because we know the Swiss francs value is one Swiss francs is worth $0.73. Okay, so we need to multiply this number. And then for euros, we're receiving 100,000, so we're going to multiply by 1.19. Okay, so then we have, so this is simple math here, right? You do the calculation using your scientific calculator, which is allowed in our homeworks and exams. So that, and add these 3 numbers up, we would have option C here, okay, 378,500. And then for the multinational model, after you calculate the cash flows over multiple periods, we could apply single period process to all future periods. Discount the estimated total dollar cash flow for each period at the weighted cost of capital. So we use the currency in different, the cash flow in different currency multiplied by exchange rate. So we have the added or the sum of the cash flows in dollar value. And then again, we discount by using 1 plus cost of capital, k, to the power of t for each time period and add them up. So we can have the total present value of the multinational firm. Okay, so this equation is very similar to the domestic firm, except that for the cash flow, we need to convert them into US dollar first before we do the discounting. Uncertainty surrounding MNC cash flows. So if economic conditions in a foreign country weaken, purchase of product decline, and MNC sales in that country may be lower than expected. So the economic condition could be bad, and it could affect the cash flow we receive. There could be also international political risk, where a foreign government may increase taxes or impose barriers on the subsidiary. There could be exchange rate risk if foreign currencies related to the MNC subsidiary weaken against the US dollar. MNC will receive a lower amount of dollar cash flows than was expected. Okay, so again, uncertain foreign currency cash flow due to uncertain foreign economic or political condition could make the cash flow lower than expected. Okay, and then uncertainty around future exchange rate could make our exchange rate lower than expected. And when cash flow is lower than expected, caused by risk related to foreign economies, the value of the firm would go down because cash flows are going down. Okay, when political risk makes the cash flow lower than expected, the value of the firm could go down. When the exchange rate risk makes the exchange rate lower than expected, value of the firm could also go down. Okay, so for example, weak European economy could reduce European demand for products and European subsidiaries of US firms, or reduced European demand for US firms' exports. So it reduced sales and cash flows of US firms, reduced valuation of US firms. Also, weak US demand for products at US firms could also lead to reduced valuations of US firms. Weak US economy could also affect the US firms valuation. Okay, so for US firm, for a global firm, it's related to domestic risk as well as international risk. Question. This seller corporation has a subsidiary in Mexico. The expected cash flows in pesos to be received in the future from this subsidiary have not changed since last month, but the valuation of seller corporation has declined since last month. What could have caused this decline in value? Okay, you could always pause the video, think about it, let me know. So do you have an answer in mind? If you do, let's resume the video. Go to the next one. Yes, depreciation of the Mexican peso. Okay, so if your cash flow in peso is the same, but your valuation of the firm is declining, it could be that exchange rate declined. So when you convert it into US dollar, your cash flow declined. So your value of the firm declined. Okay, uncertainty. How uncertainty affects MNC's cost of capital? A higher level of uncertainty increases the return on investment required by investors, and the MNC's valuation decreases. Okay, so remember when cash flows are increasing, value of the firm increases. But if uncertainty increases the cost of capital for the firm or return of the investor for the firm, the denominator increases, so the valuation would decrease. Okay, in this case, the cost of capital K increases, so our denominator increases and our value of the firm V decreases. Question. The valuation of an MNC is reduced if the required rate of return on its investment is reduced. Is this true? No, it's not true. Okay. If the cash flow of the MNC increases, then the valuation of the MNC increases. Okay. Cash flow and MNC value move in the same direction because cash flow is a denominator in the equation. Okay. However, the rate of return on the investment is cost of capital for the firm. It's the denominator, the K. So when it's reduced, the value of the MNC should go into the opposite direction. It should increase. Okay? And MNC's value depends on all of the following except A, required rate of return, B, the amount of cash flows in a particular currency, C, exchange rates at which cash flows are converted to dollars. Okay, You have an idea? Which one? Yes, the last one. All of these factors. Okay, and again, the value is the cash flowing each currency multiplied by the exchange rate for each currency. So we have the denominator cash flow, and any change in BC would cause the change in value of the firm in same direction. And then we divide by 1 plus K, the rate of return, to get the value. So rate of return, option A here, move in the opposite direction as the value of the firm. Okay, so that's our chapter 1. For our future chapters, we're going to focus on international markets and conditions from a macroeconomic perspective, focusing on external forces that can affect the value of an MNC. In our textbook, chapter 9 to 21 takes a microeconomics perspective and focus on how the financial management of an MNC can affect its value. Okay, so we're going to focus on the first part of the textbook in our class. Here is an organization of the chapters. We're going to do more background on international financial markets from chapter 2 to 5, and then discuss exchange rate behavior from chapter 6 to 8. Okay, and if you want to know more about the other topics, you could always read the book for the uncovered chapters. Summary for the for this first chapter here. The main goal of an MNC is to maximize shareholder wealth and to minimize WACC. Okay, same as domestic firm. When managers are tempted to serve their own interests instead of those of shareholders, an agency problem exists. MNCs tend to experience greater agency problems than do domestic firms. Proper incentives and communication from the parent may help to ensure that subsidiary managers focus on serving the overall MNC. International business is justified by three key theories. The theory of comparative advantage suggests that each country should use its comparative advantage to specialize in its production and rely on other countries to meet the needs. The imperfect markets theory suggests that because of imperfect markets, factors of production are immobile, which encourages countries to specialize based on the resources they have. The production cycle theory suggests that after firms are established in their home countries, they commonly expand their product specialization in foreign countries. The most common methods by which firms conduct international business are international trade, licensing, franchising, joint ventures, acquisitions of foreign firms, and formation of foreign subsidiaries. Methods such as licensing and franchising involve little capital investment, but distribute some of the profits to other parties. The acquisition of foreign firms and formation of foreign subsidiaries require substantial capital investments, but offer the potential for large returns. Lastly, the valuation model of an MSC shows that the MSC's value is favorably affected when its expected foreign cash inflows increase, the currencies denominating those cash flows increase, or the MNC's required rate of return increases. Okay, remember the value of the firm is cash flow, foreign cash flow multiplied by the exchange rate, right? And divide by 1 plus K. So when the first two factors in denominator increase, the value of the firm increases. But when the denominator, the rate of return decreases, the value will also increase. Conversely, the MNC's value is adversely affected when its expected foreign cash inflows decrease. The value of currencies denominating those cash flows decrease, assuming that they have net cash inflows in foreign currencies, or the MNC's required rate of return increases. Okay, so this is the other case. But remember, these two scenarios are consistent with our principle here that the MNC's value move in the same direction as foreign cash flow and also exchange rates, but opposite direction as rate of return. Okay, so that's for our chapter 1. Okay, please make sure you understand all the theories and models and um, logic here in this chapter, and you could always redo the questions to practice and always work on this question before you look at the answers. Okay, and um, let me know if you have any questions.